Hi, how are you? My name is Tim, and this is Disciple Diary Episode 2. Today's topic is called Crusades, so let's get right into it. Now, in high school, I learned about the Crusades, and history wasn't my best subject, but if I remember correctly, the Crusades were also known as Holy Wars. Now, the first Crusade was actually fought for religious reasons, but the ones after that just kind of used God's will as an excuse so that they could go pillage their wealthy neighbors to the east, which would be the Muslims. And yeah, it sucks to say that Christians use God to justify unchristian things like the Crusades. It sucks even more to say that people still do that, and Crusades are still alive today. In this episode, I'm going to talk about how Christians still crusade and why we need to stop. Now, it is no secret that there are certain people in the Christian population that fight battles that they say are sponsored by God, but I wouldn't say they are. And I don't know how many of us do it and all the topics we do it for, but the fact remains that whenever this happens, we distance ourselves from the people we're supposed to show God's love to. So some people try to justify crusades with the Bible. They'll cite verses like Romans 12:2, which says, "Do not conform to the patterns of this world, and you should set yourselves apart." But when we hear these verses, all we think is, oh, well, the world is bad, so I should reject everything in it that doesn't have Jesus stamped all over it. So, like, some of us will be like, hey, secular music? I didn't hear an I love Jesus in there, so you suck, you're awful, get out of here. And the worst part of this is that we do this to people. We don't just do it to stuff like secular music. We'll go up to people and we won't be as nice, or we'll be downright mean, and we'll say like, oh, you're going to hell. And it feels good, I guess, for these people. And they think that by being mean to these people, that they're fighting the world, they're not conforming to the world, and therefore they are fighting for God. And I don't think that's right at all. What we need to realize is that God didn't say to fight the people in the world. He said, yes, don't conform to the patterns of it, but don't fight the people in it. Where is that? Like, I know what God says about you and other people. You want to know what he says? He says, Mark 12:31, you should love your neighbor as yourself. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Oh, and by the way, Jesus defines a neighbor as anyone and everyone. Story of the Good Samaritan, go look it up. The way things are now, too many people are fighting the wrong battles. You'll have to bear with me, but I have this crazy idea that if we Christians ever see people as the enemy, then we're doing this following Jesus thing wrong. We should hate the sin, but love the sinner. Love your neighbor, everybody is a sinner, therefore, love your neighbor, love the sinner. And that's what we're supposed to do, but we just get so caught up in this bloodlust and adrenaline and groupthink, and we just decide to crusade. We take so much satisfaction in throwing punches that we don't care that we're hitting the wrong people. Now, I don't even think we should be hitting people in the first place, but I'll get to that in a bit. So, what does this all mean? I just spent the past few minutes saying what we're not supposed to do, crusade, but I haven't told you what we should do. You know when somebody does that, they'll be like, hey, don't do this, but they don't tell you what else you can do instead? I hate that. It's so annoying. Well, I'm not going to do that, so I came up with 2 suggestions that you can use to help you not crusade. Number 1, don't try to be right. A lot of our crusades revolve around Christians trying to push our beliefs onto other people who think differently. And newsflash, whether you're Christian, Jewish, Muslim, whatever, you're going to think you're right. People naturally think they're right. There's beliefs you have, and by definition, it's what you think actually happens, what you think exists. Now, have you ever heard of the phrase, you do you, and I'll do me? You do you, bro, I'll do me. Now, the problem with Christians is that we don't think other people should do them. We look at them when we say, oh, you're wrong, let me save you, let me convert you, let me give you my beliefs so that you'll be set and you won't go to hell. But then we just don't listen to them, and then we continue to go on these crusades to get people to believe in us. And what happens is we just push them away. We divide ourselves, we distance ourselves from the people, from our neighbors who we're supposed to be loving. So yeah, don't try to be right. Step number 2, know what to fight for. Like I said before, a lot of people get so caught up going on these crusades that they don't even remember what they're supposed to be fighting for in the first place. I think we're supposed to be fighting for the people that need help. Now in Matthew 9:12, the Pharisees, they were religious leaders of Jesus' time. They saw him having dinner with like tax collectors who cheated people of their money and prostitutes. And the Pharisees were like, dude, you are eating with sinners. What's up with that, man? That's not cool. And then Jesus' answer was, it is not the healthy who need the doctor, but the sick. Right? That's a nice way of phrasing it. Now, Jesus was perfect, right? By definition, God, perfect, sinless, blameless. He's the whole package. So if anybody could be condescending like the Pharisees were, it was Jesus. Like, he was entitled to that. They weren't. But he didn't do that to them. He just said, hey, this is who you are, and I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to try to help you get to where you need to be. The Pharisees, on the other hand, were like, oh, well, you did that wrong, and oh, you've also done that wrong. And they just keep score. You know, people who keep score, they kept score of everything these people ever did wrong, and they would just never let these people live it down, right? So the Pharisees didn't want to even eat with these people, but Jesus, he died for these people. So I guess my point is, even if we disagree with the way somebody's living their lives, we can still fight for them, we can still love them. So guys, this is what I'm asking and praying for, alright? No more intolerance, no more judgment, no more crusades. Please. You can fight for righteousness, but don't fight to be right. That was Disciple Diary episode 2. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.